Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Your Honor,
Good afternoon.
Yes.
I do apologize for interrupting. I am requesting a breakout for position 8, please.
Okay. Any other breakouts needed today? If not, if we're ready to get started, courtroom 2, who do we have? Ms. Bridgewater, what's the SAP reset date?
November the 15th.
Thank you.
So who we starting with?
They haven't said, and they are muted into.
Good afternoon, Judge Morrow.
Good afternoon. I hope you all are well.
Yes, thank you. Whenever we're ready to start, it's going to be position 9, Ms. Penn.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Penn. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
It says the state is requesting breakout for position 9, Your
Oh,
Honor.
this is the breakout. Okay. And well, let me just get the answer to the question and then we can go into the breakout room.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. You're muted again, courtroom 2.
Yeah, you can ask her again, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now, Ms. Penn?
He's talking.
Okay. And do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Okay. You've been charged in case 22 CR 007486A with criminal trespass and 2 counts of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Who needs to be in the breakout room this afternoon?
ASG Tortorello, Your Honor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Deputy McCutcheon, I believe Attorney Kim, and the victims here today, Your Honor, Miss Barbara Penn, so just advising you of that.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon, Ms. McCutcheon. Good to see you as always.
Good afternoon, Judge. Good to see you as well.
Okay, so if you can, we'll do the breakout room first. And so if you can go ahead and put us into the breakout room, please. Okay, is Miss Barbara Penn on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Miss Penn, you're being requested to join us in the breakout room. So
Okay.
if you'll get a breakout room join. Ms. Gant, are you there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bacchus, are you there?
Yes, Your Honor.
I understand that you both have position number 8, is that right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, would you all join us in the breakout room so we can do this one breakout room all at once and we won't have a need to do any more breakout rooms during the course of the calendar today? Is that fine with you too?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And if you can place me back in the breakout room also. Okay, going back to position number 9, Ms. Penn, we've had an opportunity to discuss this matter with counsel, and the bond is going to be as follows: $1,000 good bond for the criminal trespass, $500 good bond for each of the willful obstructions, making it a total of a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Barbara Penn. Stay away from 2351 Maxwell Drive address. We're going to have a social worker visit, and this case is going to be placed on the competency calendar on Thursday, November 3rd. There's also to be no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond, but Ms. Payne is going to be required to stay on any prescription medication that she is currently on. Okay, good luck to you, Ms. Payne.
I'm not, excuse me, sir, I was already given the bond. And I'm not, on prescription, and I'm trying to, like, y'all just discussed it with me.
So someone's going to see you back on Thursday, Ms. Penn. Okay, so
They said I can pay,
You can pay.
they already said I can leave.
You can pay your bond. Come on.
okay,
Come on. Let's pay.
if you can't pay your bond, you'll be seen back again on Thursday. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Come on, Ms. Payne.
We have also, I don't know if you all are.
Before you proceed, I just wanted to mention to you for position 8, Mr. Miller, he has a private attorney here in our courtroom.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought that he was represented by.
Yeah,
No, because they said
Mr. Miller did not mention that. Hold on one second, Judge.
So I was unaware, Your Honor.
Okay, yeah. All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Byron Owens on behalf of Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon. We were in a break. I believe, that Mr. Miller was going to be represented by the public defender. As such, we discussed this case in a breakout room previously with Ms. Gant representing him at the time. Because of the nature of the charges, it was requested a breakout room. I don't know if you would like, there's not really a way for us to go into a breakout room with you in the courthouse there. So I guess with Ms. Backus, let's just begin this from the top, given that we have new counsel present. And can I get from you, Mr. Howard, the history, please? First, Mr. Miller, good afternoon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Miller, you have been charged in case 22 CR 007500C with battery and terroristic threats and acts. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
11 total. He got history out of Washington, Texas, DC, and Louisiana. All right, hold on. I see a 2017 trafficking case. Trafficking marijuana out of Fulton. Before that was 2013 suspended license. He had a battery that was NOD in 2013. Got probation for possession of a firearm or knife during the commission. Possession of cocaine with intent, sale of cocaine, possession of a Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance, sale of marijuana. Those were our first offender. And that was from 2008. As far as Texas, that arrest was in the 90s. Washington, that last arrest was in 2001, assault DV, that was dismissed. Had a 2009 possession of cocaine and a weapons offense. That was conviction. 2010 violation of probation. 2010 assault. And that was out of Louisiana. I'm gonna do the DC charge. Hold on. He had a 02 arrest for assault. He was in the Navy, so he was found guilty. That's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Backus?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday. An officer responded to a dispute at 2399 Parkland Drive Northeast. Upon arrival, the officer got both parties separated, and then spoke with the defendant, who stated that he received a text from the victim, Miss Ruby Habte. Again, that is spelled Habte. She asked him to come over. Once he arrived, they were laying in bed. She was on top of him, and according to him, she was upset with him, having to do with him not being aroused during the interaction. He said that she began calling him names. He decided to get up, put his clothes on, and leave. And while putting his clothes on, she continued to call him names, and figure out why. She was trying to figure out why he was leaving and asking where he was going. He said he was going home. And he said that he never touched her, that if there were any markings on her, that she had done it to herself. Then the officer went and spoke to Ms. Habte, who said that the defendant came over. They were laying in bed talking about personal issues. He became very upset, irate. She asked what his problem was, why he was acting like a weirdo, and asked him why he was getting dressed and leaving, and said that he became more irate, started yelling, and then he got on top of her, choked her from behind, and threatened to kill her, and also said that if she got involved with any other men, that he was going to kill them as well. The officer did observe scratch marks on the victim's neck. Our office spoke with the victim, Ms. Habte, and she said that they've only known each other for about a month. They were dating, getting to know each other, and that he got upset when she was asking him questions, and that he came up behind her and attacked her and began to choke her while she was face down on the bed, and said that the pressure, she lost, her airways were constricted fairly severely. And so, Your Honor, based on that, the state is requesting a $5,000 surety bond, $2,500 on each count, no further contact, a stay away from that incident location, and a one-day anger awareness course. Nothing further.
Okay, counsel?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Miller is 40 years old, Your Honor. He is a veteran. He spent 4 years in the Navy. At this point, he is contesting the report in regards to previous convictions. He acknowledges he does have prior arrests. However, he indicates at this time he has no convictions that should be on his record. I'm not certain if there is a need to confirm that information that was previously reported, but my client is vehemently protesting that he does not have any conviction. Furthermore, Your Honor, my client has been a resident of Atlanta, Georgia now for approximately 10 years. He does reside at 361 Simpson Terrace, Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia, where the zip code is 30314. Your Honor, he does have one male child who is 4 years old. He shares co-parenting responsibilities with his ex-wife. He does participate on a daily basis in the caretaking and the financial responsibility for the child. He is the proprietor of a local restaurant here in New Orleans, Daiquiri Bar and Grill, located here in Atlanta, Georgia, where he does have the responsibility for all of the management as well as payroll duties, Your Honor. He does have significant ties to this community. He does not pose a flight risk. I think it should be noted that even within the report given by the complaining witness, my client was trying to leave the address. We definitely deny the allegations in regards to any report that he put his hands around her neck and choked her or made any sort of terroristic threats. I believe what's consistent in the report from my client as well as the complaining witness is that my client was attempting to leave the address. Outside, my client was waiting on an Uber. When he became informed by the complaining witness that she had called the police, he in fact waited until the police arrived. He engaged voluntarily with the police officer to explain exactly what occurred. I definitely believe that this shows that Mr. Miller has a respect for this process as well as the legal system. He will return to court as instructed. He is not a flight risk. As I previously explained, he does maintain a residence here, which he has maintained for 10 years, and he does have significant ties to the community. He will welcome a no contact order as well as a stay away provision. In fact, we would ask that it be a mutual no contact order and stay away provision in regards to the complaining witness. As it is reported, this is a fairly new acquaintance between Mr. Miller as well as the complaining witness. This is not a domestic incident. There is no concern that Mr. Miller needs to maintain any sort of contact with this complaining witness. And at this time, we do vehemently deny any and all allegations in regards to the terroristic threat, as well as the allegation that he placed his hands around her neck. At this point, Your Honor, Mr. Miller has secured private counsel and again will report to the court as instructed. Based on all of the factors given, Your Honor, we would request that the court consider an unsecured judicial release, which will allow Mr. Miller to return to the care of his family as well as to the operation of his business. Again, Mr. Miller does not pose any threat to coerce, intimidate, or further contact this particular witness, as it was a fleeting acquaintance. And I do believe it's of note to importance to report that this complaining witness invited Mr. Miller over to her home for the purpose of a consensual encounter.
Okay, thank you, counsel. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Okay, if not, for the battery, it's going to be a $1,500 good bond. For the terroristic threats, a $500 good bond, making for a total of a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Hapty. Stay away from the Parkland Drive address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 5, Lanier. Also have her mother in the gallery.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Lanier. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
You've been charged in case 22 CR 007499C with interference with custody. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Yes. Fourth arrest, 2016 misdemeanor possession of marijuana. It was NOD 2016 suspended license, NOLO. And the 2014 battery, DV battery, simple battery, DV, simple battery. Those were dismissed.
Okay.
All I got.
Ms. Backus?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place on the 30th of October. Officers were requested to come to 2660 Links End regarding a custodial interference. Upon arrival, the officer spoke with Will Dawson and ascertained that the defendant was granted custody for the weekend of her 3 minor children, which they primarily stay with Will Dawson, who's the father. The defendant picked them up on Friday evening and per the court documents was supposed to return them by 6 p.m. on Sunday. After multiple hours of not hearing from the defendant, Mr. Dawson contacted the Roswell PD and provided them a copy of the temporary order outlining the visitation parameters. The defendant was supposed to be taking the children to her mother's residence at 109 Portland Place, and Mr. Dawson was able to make contact with the defendant's sister, who was at that location. And she said that the defendant had been there all weekend, but at around 2 p.m. had taken the children in her vehicle and said that she would be back later. The officer was able to make contact with the defendant via phone around 11 p.m. and advised her that she had to return home with the children, to which she responded with a defiant statement and hung up the phone. They then spoke with her again at a later time, and she said she wasn't around and hung up the phone. And that's what led to the interference with custody charge, Your Honor. The state is asking for a $3,000 surety bond and no violations of the custody orders that are already in place. Nothing further.
Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Kiona Lanier is 30 years old. She has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area for about 7 years. She is the proud mother of 3 sons, the minor children who are the subject of this complaint. She also has a 2-year-old son and 2 daughters, ages 12 and 9 months. She completed high school. She also completed a trade. She was working as a medical technician. At this time, she is unemployed, but she is searching for employment. Your Honor, she strongly denies the allegations. She states that when she went to pick her children up on Friday, she found that the children were alone. She states that she called the police. She states that as a result of that phone call, DFACS became involved. Her son had been telling her, the 6-year-old had been telling her that the father, Mr. Will Dawson, had been leaving the children home. Her son was crying, and she had some real concerns about the safety of her children. She states that on the day that she was scheduled to return the children, she had called out to the guardian ad litem to just get some guidance in terms of what she should do, and she did not hear from them. She did not want to return the children to the care of the father, considering her concerns that he had been leaving them alone. And of course, in light of this new open case, she states that she was able to speak to the guardian ad litem on Monday, who gave her some guidance. And at that time, the police pulled up. So we definitely deny any allegations. I believe that she was justified in acting to ensure that her children are safe. We did not hear about any prior offenses in her background. She certainly is presumed innocent. We did not hear about any significant history. Therefore, I am requesting a signature bond on Ms. Lanier's behalf, as she does not have the means to pay anything toward bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ms. Backus.
I would just say, in response to what PD Gant said, that that may very well have been a concern, but the proper way to handle that is that when the police officers are calling you, you relay that information to the police officers, hang up on the police and take it into your own hands and decide to keep the children as long as you want. So that's my response to that.
And again, this is not about guilt or innocence, Your Honor. It's about
Agreed.
It's a bond hearing.
Okay, and DFAX is involved at Ms. Gant?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm going to let DFAX handle, since they are involved. I'm going to give her a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, and she's to follow any DFAX orders that are put in place. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay, all right, I'm going to let you out, Ms. Lanier, but you're going to have to make sure that that you follow any orders that that DFAX has, okay?
Okay.
All right, good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 6, this is also a private attorney case. Leon Hernandez.
You say that's position 6?
Position 6, yes, he's on the Zoom.
I have America Leon.
Yes, she doesn't have her last name on there, but. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, so.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, counsel. Let's see. Let me just get this straight. Is the last name Leon?
Yes.
Okay.
Hernandez Leon, yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Leon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Ms. Leon, you've been charged in case 22 CR 007497D with driving under the influence of alcohol per se, driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, and possession of an open alcohol container. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
It's a second arrest. 2017, she was charged with 2 counts of DUI. One of them was dismissed. The other one was amended to a non-fingerprintable charge conviction. That's all it says.
Ms. Backus?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred yesterday. An officer received notification that there was a woman passed out at the wheel while at the gas pump of the Quick Trip on State Bridge Road in Johns Creek, and that the woman had physical manifestations of alcohol impairment. Upon arrival, the officer spoke with the woman, the defendant, and noticed that she had bloodshot, watery eyes, slow and raspy speech, and the odor of alcohol was coming from her breath. There was also the officer noted that there was also a dark purple liquid spilled in her vehicle and on the ground beside the vehicle. She told the officer that she had left her boyfriend's house about 30 minutes ago and was heading home. The officer noted that the hood of her vehicle was still hot, indicating that she had not been parked there for that long. Based on all of the facts, the officer ascertained that the defendant had to be some type of impaired under the influence of something. He then asked the defendant to take the standard field sobriety test, which she did show clues of impairment, read her the implied consent and asked that she would take the breath test. And the test indicated that she was above the legal limit. In addition, the officer found 2 open bottles of wine in the passenger compartment of her vehicle that were within reach of her. Your Honor, the state is asking for a $5,000 surety bond. $2,000 on the first count, or on the first 2 counts, and $1,000 on the third count, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. We are aware that the one DUI was dismissed back in 2017, and the other one was amended. However, she was arrested for DUIs back then, and she has some familiarity with this process and knowing that she's not supposed to be behind the wheel driving under the influence, Your Honor. And so the state is asking for that surety bond. Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brasino?
Yes, Your Honor, this is an individual that used to be an employee here at my office. I know her personally. I was notified of this morning, and we would argue that she just bought her home. She is not a flight risk. She's not a danger to the community. We used to work in my immigration department. She's always assisted in the community. She was a big help here. This may be the second arrest for a DUI in the last 5 years. Like the state counsel said, it was dismissed. I am not sure what the second charge was that was amended to fingerprintable offense. I do not have that information in front of me, so I can't speak to it. I am aware of a dismissed DUI though. And we would argue that we issue a bond in half of the amount that the state asked, in the amount of $2,500. I know she's in between employment now, and I don't know what her financial situation is particularly. I am aware that $5,000 will probably put her out of reach on being able to make bond. So I would at least ask the court to consider that, and with the factors that I gave as her not being a danger to the community or a flight risk and being a resident of Fulton County, that she will not, it does not merit a bond that high.
All right, for the DUI per se, a $750 good bond. For the DUI less safe, a $750 good bond. And for the open alcohol container, $500 good bond makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Ms. Young.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Position 15, Williams.
Good afternoon, Ms. Williams. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, you've been charged in case 22 CR 007495A with simple battery, family violence, simple assault, family violence, and affray. I've been told by pretrial that this is Ms. Williams's first arrest. Ms. Tortorello?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on October 31st, 2022, yesterday at 3215 Cushman Circle Southwest in Atlanta. Your Honor, Officer Jay Carlton of the Atlanta Police Department responded to a dispute at the incident location. Upon arrival, the officer spoke to defendant Anisha Williams, who said she and her father, cross-defendant Gilbert Stringer, were involved in a verbal dispute regarding the defendant the cross-defendant not helping her move her furniture. The officer spoke to Mr. Stringer, who said he had bad knees, so he hired someone to help his daughter carry the mattress to her apartment. Mr. Stringer advised he was attempting to leave after the defendant began to get upset and cursing at him. He attempted to drive off, but could not due to the defendant banging on his car window. So Mr. Stringer got out of his vehicle to confront the defendant. Defendant got in a fighting stance and swung at Mr. Stringer, and Mr. Stringer pulled the defendant to the ground to restrain her, according to the cross defendant. When Mr. Stringer attempted to leave for the second time, the defendant got a saw from the back of his truck and began to swing it. The defendant then threw the saw through the driver's side window where it hit Mr. Stringer in the arm. Both the defendant and the cross defendant engaged in fighting outside of the incident location, which was a public place. The defendant was arrested, and all these events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, just given the fact that this is the defendant's first arrest, we are recommending the following: for the simple battery, family violence, a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial. For the simple assault, family violence, a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial. For the affray, a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. A total will be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. The conditions is no contact with the cross defendant, Gilbert Stringer. 1 day anger management, no drugs, alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Nothing further.
Okay, and who's
Good
representing?
afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon, Ms. McLeod. Who's representing Mr. Stringer?
I do it, Your Honor, actually.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you're on the line as we
Yes,
go
I am.
through this. Ms. McLeod, I'm going to give her a signature bond. It's going to be a $1,000 signature bond on each charge, making for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1 day anger awareness, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. I do want to discuss, though, whether the contact with her father and who resides at the Cushman Circle address.
Your Honor, my client resides at the address. Her dad lives elsewhere.
Okay.
So, and she also tells me that she would like to have no violent contact with her dad.
Your Honor, the state will object to this. This, I believe, occurred, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney McLeod, I believe this occurred yesterday.
That is correct.
Yeah, so there's not enough cooling off period. Plus, Your Honor, we have not yet gone over the cross defendant's criminal history. So for that reason, I would recommend no contact at this time.
Okay, thank you. What is Mr. Stringer's, Mr. Howard, his history? I know that he's recommended through pretrial.
Got 18 total. Last
Okay.
arrest was 04. Probation violation. Everything is old. He had a 04 battery slash simple battery family violence conviction. Suspended license. He had an ag assault cruise in the first that was dead doctor. That was from 01. Yeah, everything else is old.
So, Ms. McLeod, your client has her hand up.
Ms. Williams, is this something pertaining to your bond? Because the judge has given you a signature bond, and I have already expressed your wish to continue to have contact with your dad. Is there something else that you want to let me know?
Okay, so I was only aware of one charge, and
the state can amend your charges, Ms. Williams. I can talk to you later and explain that. You can give me a call once you're out.
And do they have like the way that like both ways that it went, or just one way? Do they have,
I don't understand the question, Ms. McLeod. Maybe you do.
I said, do they have both ways it went, or just one sided?
Oh, we're gonna get the other side of it, Ms. Williams. And is Mr. Stringer in the court also?
Yes, he is, Judge, but 1 second, what was the total amount for the signature bond for pretrial?
It's a $3,000, it's $1,000 on each count, so a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. Okay, I'm trying to determine whether I'm gonna allow contact or not. And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. So, Ms. Tortorello, would you give me, and since Mr. Stringer is
He's here, Judge.
Yes, and he can presumably, okay, have him come up and I'll,
Position 12.
yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Stringer. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 22 CR 007491A with simple battery, family violence, and affray. Ms. Tortorello, do you have anything to add to the facts on this matter?
Oh, yes, Your Honor. Just to go over the bond recommendation for this defendant, for the simple battery family violence, the state's recommending a $2,500 surety bond. For the affray, a $2,500 surety bond, which would be a total of $5,000 surety. No contact with the cross defendant, to stay away from the incident location, which is the cross defendant's residence. 1-day anger management, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, again, the Atlanta Police Department responded to a dispute call at the incident location. Upon arrival, the officer spoke to cross defendant Anisha Williams, who said she and her father, defendant Gilbert Stringer, were involved in a verbal dispute regarding the defendant not helping her move furniture into her home. Miss Williams said the dispute turned physical when the defendant threw nails at her as the mattress was being carried up to Miss Williams' apartment. The nails hit Miss Williams, at which point she approached the defendant who inside his vehicle at that time, who was inside his vehicle at the time, to confront him. The defendant got out of his vehicle, grabbed Miss Williams, slammed her to the ground, and sat on her, which caused Miss Williams to not be able to breathe. If I may point out, Your Honor, the defendant, according to Odyssey, weighs over 300 pounds, and Miss Williams weighs about 146 pounds. Miss Williams attempted to bite the defendant to get him off of her. A witness, Miss Wanda Sherman, observed the defendant pull Miss Williams to the ground, then get on top of Miss Williams, and saw the defendant place his hands around Miss Williams' neck. The witness did not observe Miss Williams swing at the defendant first. Both the defendant and the cross defendant did engage in fighting outside of the incident location, and the defendant was arrested, and all these events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, pretrial did go over some of his criminal history. I'm going to go over some as well. This defendant was arrested for murder in 1990 and armed robbery by the Atlanta Police Department. In 2004, he was convicted of child abandonment out of DeKalb State Court. In 2004, simple battery family violence at a Fulton County State Court. He also was convicted of, he has various battery offense convictions, and a couple in the 90s. So for that reason, Your Honor, just given the nature of the facts here that occurred, the defendant's criminal history, we're asking for no contact at this time, and as well as that surety bond. Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Tortorello. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Mr. Stringer is 48 years old. Your Honor, I would like to object to considering any of those old cases that are more than 10 years ago, and they are very prejudicial to be actually announced in this Zoom setting, Your Honor. I don't think that should be done. We would like to request for a signature on bond. He is qualified. He has been clear, no history from 2004, more than 18 years, Your Honor. He's been very clear, clean, and there was no violence whatsoever for the last 18 years. And indeed, he was the one who called the police to make sure that her daughter gets kind of controlled because she was out of control. And he was not sitting on her. He was just putting her down to the ground so she does not act out because he was getting hurt. We want to clarify that part. And he was born and raised here in Georgia, and he has 4 other children as well, total of 4 children, and one of them is still minor, so he has been paying for another minor, and he's working at DeKalb County for last 15 years, Your Honor. He has GED and he has been a good citizen and he's involved in the community. We would like to request for a signature on bond. Thank you.
And Your Honor, just to address, there's nothing prejudicial about reading a defendant's criminal history. There's nothing remote about a murder charge. Your Honor, to add, a witness did see this defendant sit on the cross defendant and put his hands on her neck. So we have that as well. Nothing further.
Okay, so going back to Ms. Williams, position 15, Ms. Bridgewater, there's, from what I heard, there's going to be no further contact with Mr. Stringer at this time.
Okay.
I don't think I agree with Ms. Tortorello in that there hadn't been enough of a cooling off period at this time. And I believe that will complete the bond on Ms. Williams.
Okay.
Ms. Pam, your client has his hand up.
Mr. Stringer, is it something about the bond condition? Otherwise, I would like to recommend you to stay silent because you do have a right to remain silent. We don't want to hurt your case.
Okay.
This is not about the facts of the case.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as far as Mr. Stringer goes, for the simple battery, it's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial. For the affray, it's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact at this time with Ms. Williams, stay away from the Cushman Circle address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thanks, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Stringer.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Position 4, Holland.
Yana,
Yes, Mr. Adams.
okay, just let you know I represent Mr. Hall, Ms. Hall.
All right, good to see you, Mr. Good afternoon, Ms. Hollins. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Sure.
You've been charged in case 22 CR 007496J with simple battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
29 total. She got history out of Florida, South Carolina, New York, and Texas. Last arrest was back in May, failed to appear out of Cobb. Open case in DeKalb County, financial transaction card fraud. Theft by receiving, 2 counts of identity fraud. Case in Fulton, ag assault, ag battery, cruelty in the first and second, false statement. That's 18 SC 162357. On probation in Cobb, 4 counts of identity theft fraud. What else? Another identity theft fraud. On probation in Fulton for insurance fraud, 2 counts, forgery in the first degree. It's 18 SC 160116. And she got bench warrants as well out of Superior Court. Cruelty in the second, reckless conduct, cruelty in the first. Ag assault, ag battery, false statements. You want more?
You're good, thank you. Ms. Backus?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred back in June of 2020. Mr. London Henry reported being physically assaulted by the defendant and her boyfriend after a verbal argument. The defendant is the grandmother of Mr. Henry's granddaughter, or the grandmother of Mr. Henry's daughter. And the argument was over taking the granddaughter out of state. Mr. Henry showed the officers text message where the defendant asked to come to the house, but he never gave her permission. He just asked her why. The defendant showed up without permission with her boyfriend that Mr. Henry does not know. And then the defendant asked if she could take the child to Florida. It turned into an argument and she became irate, pushed Mr. Henry, and that's when a fight began. Some neighbors did witness this incident. As I said, the defendant pushed Mr. Henry in the chest, and at that time, the boyfriend, I guess, pulled out his gun and pointed it, and they left or departed the scene shortly after that. Based on the violent offenses in the history, the recent offenses, the FTAs, Your Honor, there's already a $1,500 surety in place. The state is asking for a $2,500 surety. No further contact with London Henry to stay away from that incident location, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. Nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Adams?
Yes, Your Honor, I've represented Ms. Hall on Fulton County cases, and that was a clerical error, possible error on my part. I thought we had it resolved with Fulton County. She has, correct, 9 children. She has been incarcerated from the Gwinnett County case for 6 months. Released yesterday. We'd ask for $2,500 signature bond through pretrial.
And is the reason that this is just getting to us now, Ms. Backus, because she's been in custody?
Well, they left the scene, so I'm assuming there was just a warrant placed, and then she must have gotten picked up, and then they must have released her to this hole when she left from Gwinnett. That's my assumption. I don't have that in fact.
It's going to be $1,000 good bond, no further contact with London Henry, stay away from the incident location, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, Ms. Holland.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
13, Thomas.
May I be excused, John?
Yes. Have a good afternoon, Mr.
Thank
Adams. Good afternoon, Ms. Thomas. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. You have been charged in case 22 CR 007492G with simple assault, family violence. I've been informed by pretrial that this is Ms. Thomas's first arrest. Ms. Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on February 17th, 2022 at 3901 Campbellton Road Southwest, apartment 17 in Atlanta. Officer Cox of the Atlanta Police Department responded to the incident location in reference to a dispute. Upon arrival, the officer learned that defendant Martina Thomas threw CDs towards victim William Gresham when she learned of Mr. Gresham's communications with a female coworker. The defendant was arrested, and all these events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, the state's recommending for the simple assault family violence charge a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial. Conditions is no contact with victim. I'm not sure if he's on the Zoom, but the state has not been able to get in touch with the victim. William Gresham, no contact. To stay away from the incident location at 3901 Campbellton Road. 1 day anger management, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Nothing further.
Any objection to any of that, Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor, I do not object to the amount of the bond, but I do object to the stay away. This incident happened several months ago. The parties are actually married, Your Honor, and they have continued to live together. Since then, my client was totally unaware of the existence of this warrant, and apparently so was her husband. I was not able to contact him because he was at work, Your Honor, but my understanding is that they've been living together since the incident, and neither was aware that there was an outstanding warrant. My client is a mother of 3 children, an 18-year-old, 14-year-old, and 5-year-old, and they all live together with her and Mr. Gresham. Therefore, I would definitely oppose to no further contact, Your Honor, and would suggest no further violent contact.
All right, so it is going to be a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial, 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Gresham, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank
Position 14, Thomas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thomas. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 22 CR 007493E with battery, family violence, and cruelty to children in the third. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
6 total. He had a 2018 suspended license. Before that were probation violations that came off of a 2010 burglary. That's it. He don't have any violence.
Okay. So,
Yes, Your Honor. For the battery family violence, state's requesting a $4,000 surety bond. For the cruelty to children in third, a $1,000 surety. There'll be a total of $5,000 surety bond. The conditions is no contact with the victim. Her name is Alexandria Holloman. The first name is Alexa, N as in Nancy, Dria. The last name is spelled H as in house, Olloman as in Nancy. To stay away from the incident location at 1855 Evans Drive, apartment D as in dog in Atlanta. 1-day anger management, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, this incident occurred on July 21st of 2020 at the incident location. The Atlanta Police Department responded to the incident location in reference to a domestic dispute. The caller, the victim, Miss Alexandra Holloman, advised officers that her live-in boyfriend, defendant Shockey Thomas, assaulted her. Ms. Holloman said before the assault, she and the defendant were involved in a verbal dispute about money in the bathroom. After Ms. Holloman mentioned she did not know where the money was located, the defendant began to hit her with his fist. While trying to defend herself, Ms. Holloman fell in the tub. CH, the juvenile, was at the doorway of the bathroom during the assault. The officer observed Ms. Holloman had a busted lip and broken nails. The defendant was eventually arrested, and these events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, as far as intimidation of victim and witness, it's foreseeable due to the facts of this case. The fact Ms. Holloman told police this was not the first time she had been assaulted by the defendant. After the assault, the defendant left the bathroom and the victim followed, but she quickly ran back to the bathroom and closed the door to avoid more assault. This is what she told police. Your Honor, also to add, the defendant has 6 cycles here in Georgia. He pled to guilty under the First Offender Act for burglary back in 2015. That was sealed. He has about 3 violations of probation on his record out of Henry County, 2 in 2012, 1 in 2014. For that reason, Your Honor, and the facts of what occurred here, Your Honor, we are asking for that $5,000 surety bond with the conditions stated. Nothing further.
have you spoken with Ms. Holloman?
Let me check, Your Honor. We've attempted, Your Honor, but no, we have not been able to reach her.
And this is a July 2020 case?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Thomas Shockey is 29 years old, Your Honor, and they have been living together and they're still living together. Miss Holloman is actually his girlfriend. They don't have any children, even though she has a stepdaughter who is almost about 7 years old. And Your Honor, this happened 2 years ago. And we have 2 different charges, I guess, children to cruelty. That one, we totally denied the allegation because the child was not even at home. And there was no other incident. And this is something that happened way too long ago. Mr. Thomas has been here in Georgia for the last 15 years, and he has his own 2 children that he's paying child support every month, and he's employed at a food distribution warehouse, working really hard. He's been working there for 9 months. He has a GED. He has family members here, like his mother and cousin. He has a strong ties to the community. He's not a flight risk. We would like to request for signature on bond so he can go home and get back to his work. This happened again, really, really long time ago. And the things that were sealed does not have to be unsealed without the court order. I don't think that should be even brought up here at the Zoom hearing about the sealed charge. Thank you, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, just to add, the fact that Miss Attorney Kim just stated they're still living together, that's very concerning due to what the victim told officers that wasn't the first time he has assaulted her. To add, during the assault and attempts to defend herself, she fell inside the tub, and while she was protecting herself, she broke her nails, Your Honor. This is something that should not be taken lightly. The state is asking for that no contact and that stay away order at the very least, Your Honor, whatever your decision regarding the type of bond may be. Nothing further.
It's going to be a $3,000 signature bond for the battery through pretrial, $1,000 signature bond for the cruelty to children, making it a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Given this case is more than 2 years old, and apparently they have not had any further incidences. It's no further violent contact with the alleged victim. Good luck to you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Position 11, Roberson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Roberson. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Roberson, you've been charged in case 22 CR 007489G with simple battery, family violence, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest. All I see is a 2009 arrest out of Illinois. No insurance, improper use of registration/title. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Florella.
Yes, Your Honor. For the simple battery, family violence, a $3,000 surety. For the obstruction, $1,000 surety. That'll be a total of $4,000 surety bond. The conditions is no contact with the victim. Her name is Shanika Christian. To stay away from the incident location, which is 716 Camelot Drive and Camelot Drive out of South Fulton. 1-day anger management, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, this incident occurred on October 31st, 2022, yesterday at the incident location. This defendant does pose a significant threat and danger to the person of Shanika Christian. Officer Keys of the South Fulton Police Department responded to the incident location in reference to a physical altercation. Upon arrival, the officer made contact with the victim, Ms. Shanika Christian, who said she and her live-in boyfriend, the defendant, Rayvon Robertson, were involved in a physical altercation. Ms. Christian said she found out the defendant was cheating on her and wanted to kick him out of the residence. When Ms. Christian went to grab the defendant's things, he grabbed her by her ponytail and dragged her around, and in the process pulled pieces of her hair from her scalp. When officers made contact with the defendant, he refused to comply with lawful orders. Officer Keys commanded the defendant to come out of his house with his hands up multiple times, and the officer had to deploy his taser to gain compliance. The defendant was arrested, and these events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, as far as intimidation of victim witness, it's foreseeable due to the facts of this case. The fact Ms. Christian had to stick her finger in the defendant's eye in order for the defendant to let go of her during the assault. There's 2 cycles, Your Honor, in his record. However, it's important to know there's 1 out of Georgia, 1 out of Illinois, which makes this defendant a multi-state offender. flight risk, Your Honor. So for that reason, we are asking for that $4,000 surety bond with the condition stated. We did speak to the victim. She wants no contact, as she wants the defendant to stay away from her. She stated that that they no longer live together and share no children, and that the defendant's mother has already come to the residence to retrieve his belongings. Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Tortorella. Ms. Karen?
Yes, Mr. Robertson is 37 years old, 32 years old, Your Honor. Actually, Your Honor, we have no objection to stay away, no further contact. We will comply to that order, and he is recommended for signature on bond, and I would like to recommend for signature on bond. He has been here in Georgia for more than 15 years. This is his hometown now. And he has 3 children that he's been paying for the child support. So he does not want to go to another state. The multi-state offender, he's not flight risk to go to another state at this point. And also he is employed as a barber. He has a license. He's been working there for 1.5 years, and he has a high school degree. We would like to request for a signature on bond, and yeah, we don't have to go there anymore at all. Thank
Your Honor, I
you.
think the victim's on the line. I'm not sure who iPhone is.
Yes, that's me.
This Ms. Christian.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Christian. If you would like to speak on this matter, I'll need to swear you in, and you'll need to raise your right hand for me. You're not required to speak, but if you want to speak, I'm happy to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am. What would you like? Can you put your hand down? What would you like to tell the court?
I think that he needs not only anger management, but he needs some alcohol treatment because he does this. It's only my first time reporting it, but he gets drunk and he does this. That's how he acts when he drinks.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything further from counsel?
Yes, Your Honor, just to clarify, Ms. Christensen, are you stating that this has happened in the past?
Yes, it has happened before, but I didn't report it.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Okay.
All right, for the simple battery, a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. For the obstruction, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial, making it a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Christian, stay away from the Camelot Drive address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Mr. Robertson, let me make clear to both you and Ms. Christian what no further contact means. No further contact means absolutely no contact, no personal contact, no phone contact, no email contact, no social media contact. No contact whatsoever. If you do have contact, you'll be in violation of this bond, and you'll be right back where you are. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Good luck to you, Mr. Robertson. You also, Ms. Christian.
Thank you.
Position 1, Bailey.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bailey. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey, you've been charged in case 22 CR 007488G with loitering and prowling and giving false information to law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest, 2019 shoplifting. That's it.
Ms. Backus?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday. An officer was working as a courtesy officer at 3478 Lakeside Drive Northeast. He received a text message from the leasing office staff member stating that the concierge had received a few phone calls from residents about some males walking around the ground floor of the parking deck wearing gloves and jackets. So when the officer got down to the ground floor, he saw 2 males start walking away from him. One male had come from behind a car, and then followed the other male out of the back entrance. The males were out of the officer's sight at a certain point, but he eventually located him. By the time he did, there was a group of 6 of them. 3 ran, 3 were detained, and amongst the 3 that were detained was the defendant. The officer did observe camera footage obtained from the apartment, and it shows clearly that the defendant pulled on a control access door, attempting to gain entry into a bicycle storage room. He continued walking further into the garage out of the camera view. He did have on gloves, or he had gloves on his person when the officer caught up with him. And his counterpart had a window punch, which is, I guess, used to break windows in vehicles, on his person. So the officer asked the defendant his name, and he gave a fake name of Antares Demons, which the officer obviously found to be false. This is the defendant's second arrest. He has a 2019 theft by shoplifting. And then our case, Your Honor, we are aware of the limited history. We are asking for a $1,000 surety bond and a stay away from that incident location, which again is 3478 Lakeside Drive Northeast.
500 on each charge?
Yes, Your Honor, my apologies.
You're fine. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Tyquavius Bailey is 21 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area his entire life. He is the proud father of a 1-year-old daughter. He completed 12th grade, and at this time, Your Honor, he is unemployed. Prior to becoming unemployed, he was working with his uncle at a local nonprofit that provides, I guess, cleaning services to places in the community. He is actively looking for work. He does not have the means to pay bond, nor does he have anyone to bond him out. He strongly denies the allegations, and he is presumed innocent. Regarding his history, I did hear about the arrest. However, I did not hear any disposition. Therefore, Your Honor, I believe that, he doesn't have any prior convictions. I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Bailey's behalf as he is recommended, and we are unopposed to the stay away. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Backus, was anybody else arrested?
I believe according to the report, the 3 men that were, I'm sorry, I don't have the full report in front of me, but if I remember correctly, there were 3 that ran and 3 that were taken into custody. I don't know where they are because they're not on this calendar, but
Right. No, I was just asking you because with someone of Mr. Bailey's age and with his limited history, if there were other people that he's hanging out with and the state would like in the future that he not have any affiliation with them, then this court would be amenable to having a stay away from those individuals. So just for future reference. And in this case, it's going to be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial for the judge on each count. So which makes it a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. Stay away from the Lakeside Drive address and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Mr. Bailey, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 10, Red Cross.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, Mr. Red Cross. How are you?
I'm good.
This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
You've been charged in case 22 CR 007487Y with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest, 2019, driving without a valid license. It was a minute to expire license conviction. The booking sheet shows a Pineville, North Carolina address. That's it.
Is that why he's not on the list?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommending a $3,500 surety bond. The conditions is no contact with the victim, stay away from the victim's residence. This didn't occur at her residence, Your Honor. I'm not sure, the state's not sure where she resides, but wherever she resides, stay away from residence. 1-day anger management, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, this incident occurred on October 31st, 2022. That's yesterday at 170 Piedmont Avenue Northeast in Atlanta. The defendant poses a significant threat and danger to the person of Nyasia Gant. Nyasia, for the record, is N as in Nancy, Y-A, S as in Sam, I-A. The last name is G as in George, A, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, T as in Tom. The Atlanta Police Department responded to the incident location in reference to a domestic dispute. Upon arrival, police spoke with defendant Deontay Redcross, who advised he and his live-in girlfriend, victim Nyasia Gant, got into a verbal altercation involving phone messages. The defendant was driving the vehicle at the time and stopped the vehicle at the incident location. Defendant then attempted to get Ms. Gant out of the vehicle by opening the rear passenger door and grabbing Ms. Gant by her pink shirt. The defendant grabbed Ms. Gant's shirt with such force, which caused both shoulder straps to rip. The defendant was arrested, and these events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, this defendant only has 2 cycles out of Georgia, Your Honor. However, given this domestic incident, Your Honor, the nature of what occurred here, we are asking for that surety bond of $3,500 with the conditions stated before this court. Nothing further.
Has your office spoken with the alleged victim?
Your Honor, we've attempted, Your Honor. We have not been able to speak to her.
Okay. Mr. Redcross, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. I see you there with your hand up. I would imagine that Ms. Kim would want you to let her speak for you. If you need to say something to Ms. Kim, then I'm happy to allow you to do that. But quite often, somebody in your situation might think that what they have to say would be helpful when in fact it might not be. So would you like to advise Ms. Kim?
Yes. Would you like to stay, remain silent, Mr. Redcross? Let me finish. Let me do my work, and then we will get back. I'll call you. We would like to recommend for signature on bond, Your Honor. He is North Carolina resident. However, he has family members here in Georgia. It's only 3 hours away from here in Georgia, so he can come anytime to come to the court. He's not a flight risk, and he has ties to the community. Your Honor, he was not the first aggressor. He was driving when this happened. It was her who was kicking and aggressively attacking him while he was driving, to the point that it was not safe to drive anymore because of her physical attack. And we would like to request for signature on bond. We don't worry about the stay away because they do not live together and they don't have any children together. And I guess, I mean, Miss Gannett actually moved out, so they actually broke up. So there's no reason for continuous contact. Mr. Redcross, he has a job. He's been working at landscaping industry for the last 1.5 years, and he has completed up to 8th grade, and he is 1 point away from passing GED. So he's gonna go and complete again because he has to repeat the test 1 more time. We would like to request for signature on bond, Your Honor. Thanks.
And Your Honor, just to perfect the record, that's not what happened. I did not go into details of the argument or why the defendant decided to stop. However, what occurred was they were inspecting each other's phones for messages. The defendant found a message from the victim's male friend. And then he decided to call victim's male friend, yell at the male friend. The victim was trying to get her phone back. Then he parked the vehicle and decided to pull her out of the car. And in the process of that, he ripped her shirt. So that's what happened, Your Honor. Nothing further.
All right, it's gonna be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail, no further contact with the alleged victim, stay away from her residence, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Mr. Red Cross, because of your history, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to sign your own bond, but if you don't show back up for your next hearing date, a warrant will be placed out for you. You understand?
Thank you, sir. I understand.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Red.
You too. Thank you.
And Your Honor, is this a signature bond through the jail?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Position 3, Davis.
Good afternoon, Mr. Davis. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Davis, you've been charged in case 22 CR 007494J with battery family violence, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
14 total. Last arrest was October 2021. Probation, it was for obstruction. September 2019, felony probation violation. Another probation for battery DV. He was convicted for battery, family violence, second subsequent conviction in 2019. 2017, failure to appear, not prosecuted. Another 2017 FTA, not prosecuted. Marijuana possession, suspended license conviction, 2016. Got a 2016 arrest, ag stalking, burglary in the first, simple battery and false imprisonment. Those were convictions out of the DeKalb County. 2015 cruelty in the third, battery DV, second and subsequent. And it was 2 counts of those. Those were convictions as well out of the DeKalb. 2012 probation. Got a 2010 battery DV, pled NOLO. That's it.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday. An officer was dispatched to a fight in progress call at 3000 Continental Colony Parkway Southwest, Unit F166. Upon arrival, the officer spoke with the caller, Miss Nona Armstead. But prior to that, the defendant would not allow the officer to get into the house. He was blocking the door and interfering with the investigation. Miss Armstead did manage to open the door by placing her foot outside, and eventually she was able to pry it open. The officer noted that the defendant seemed to be under the influence of alcohol. He had some injuries on him, and he kept saying, "I didn't have a physical altercation with my mother. My mother beat me up." So the defendant was showing signs of evading, so the officer had to call additional units to the scene, at which time the defendant tried to run away. There was a tussle between him and the officer. Eventually, he was detained. Then the officer spoke with Ms. Armstead, who said the defendant came home from drinking with a childhood friend that had stolen his phone. And so he came in, he went to his sister, who is Miss Mia Davis, and he started arguing with her, asking her to get in contact with this friend. And she basically told him to leave her alone. That's when the defendant then went to his mom's room. He kicked in her door, started an argument with her, got upset and hit her with the drawer on the right side of her face. She had abrasions on her face, but also had bite marks on her fingers as well as on her earlobes. She said that it was a result. So he also had injuries on him, and she said that those injuries were a result of her protecting herself while he was on top of her and choking her. The sister said that he hit her as well because she tried to stop him from attacking their mother. And so he hit her with a fan on the right side of her body. Our victim witness advocate did have a chance to speak with the mother, and she said that this is not the first time that this has happened, that the defendant went to jail 2 years ago for violence against her and her daughter, and stated that he has a drug and alcohol problem, and that he did choke her, and her airways were fairly constricted, and so much to the point where she wasn't sure if she was going to make it. She almost passed out. She's not able to attend Zoom today. Your Honor, based on all of the battery family violence charges in the past, on top of the probation violations from 2019, 2021, the FTAs, and the fact that actually we will be referring this for felony because it is going to be, I believe, the fourth battery family violence. Or I'm sorry, the third, Your Honor. And so we will be referring this up. We're asking for a $7,000 surety bond, $5,000 on count 1, and $1,000 on the remaining 2 counts. No further contact with Nona Armstead and Mia Davis. Stay away from that incident location. Again, that's 3000 Continental Colony Parkway Southwest. And an ADET, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Gant.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Terrence Davis is 30 years old. He has been in Georgia since 2001 and in Atlanta since 2017. He does have family here, including his mother and sister and 2 children. His children are ages 10 and 12, and he does pay child support for his children, Your Honor. Mr. Davis earned a GED. He also attended culinary school. He is currently employed as a manager at a local linen warehouse. He has been in that position for the past 10 months. Your Honor, my client strongly denies the allegations. As the warrant reads, he was bleeding and had scratches. He states that he was actually jumped by his mother, his sister, and his brother. His brother, he states, left the scene, prior to police arriving. I did have the occasion to speak out to both his mother and his sister. Ms. Nona Armstead wants no violent contact. However, his sister, Ms. Mia Davis, she does not want any contact. My client wants contact. We are requesting that Your Honor grant a no violent contact order. However, given if the court is not so inclined, that we would ask for a one-time law enforcement escort so that Mr. Davis may retrieve his belongings. We are opposed to the ADET evaluation. His mother is not competent to testify whether or not he needs any alcohol treatment. And lastly, regarding bond, I am requesting a signature bond. However, Your Honor, if Your Honor determines that he is ineligible, I would ask for a more reasonable bond because, Your Honor, at this point, unless and until these cases are transferred, I would ask that you assign a bond that is commensurate with the offenses that are alleged. And again, he is presumed innocent. I would ask for a bond of no more than $2,000 if he's ineligible for a signature, and that would be $1,000 for the battery family violence and $500 for the remaining counts, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, for the battery family violence, it's going to be a $3,000 good bond, willful obstruction, $1,000 good bond, simple battery family violence, $1,000 good bond, making for a total of $5,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Armstead or Ms. Davis. Stay away from the Continental Colony Parkway address. He acted that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Mr.
Thank you
Davis.
so much, thank you so much. Thank you.
Position 7, Mallory.
Number 2 bonded out, in case anybody didn't know that.
Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mallory. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Mallory, you've been charged in case 22 CR 007498E with simple battery. Is your history, Mr. Howard?
28 total. Last arrest was 2021. It's a battery conviction. The ag assault with that arrest was dismissed. 2020 ag stalking, it was DWAP. 2019 trespass conviction. 2019 theft by taking, amended to disorderly conduct conviction. 2013 theft by taking, simple battery conviction. 2012 sale of cocaine conviction. 2012 battery conviction. Got an old FTA from 04. That's all. Everything else is in the 90s.
Ms. Backus?
Yes, Your Honor, this occurred on the 30th of October. Officers were dispatched to 1341 Metropolitan Parkway Southwest, where the caller stated she was assaulted on the day prior, on the 29th, by a man who cleans the store. I guess it's a store. I will give you the name of that momentarily if I can find it, Your Honor. Upon arrival, the officers met with the victim, Asma Farouk. Asma is spelled ASMA. Farouk is FARRUKH. Who stated that she was at the store with her son, and the guy who cleans the store asked her where the $5 were for cleaning the store, and she told him she doesn't pay him, someone else does. So the defendant is seen on the video footage talking to Ms. Farouk and walking in and out of the store, and when she was waiting for her Uber, when it arrived, she went out of the store. The defendant was waiting for her, and he is seen punching her and pushing her in the face twice. He then yelled he would be back to get the money that she owed him. The victim also had video footage of the attack. The officers could not locate the defendant at the time, but 2 days later, yesterday, the officers were patrolling and observed the defendant walking. He was still wearing the same clothes from the video and the assault. And so when the officers talked to him and told him he still had on the same clothes, they saw him. That is when he admitted to the assault and said that he assaulted her over the fact that he believed money was owed to him. Your Honor, this defendant has, as you heard, he has a long history. He has violent offenses all the way from the 90s up through just last year with a battery conviction. And so we do have concern that he is a threat to the community. This woman was just in the store trying to buy what she needed to buy and battered based on that. And so because of our concern, we are asking for a $5,000 surety bond, no further contact with Asma Farouk, stay away from that incident location, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Ms. Camp?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Curtis Mallory is 59 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area his entire life. He does not have any children, nor does he have any other resources for bond, Your Honor. He completed 12th grade and has been unemployed due to disabilities since 2009. Therefore, he is of limited means. He denies the allegations. He is presumed innocent. And while I acknowledge my client's history, I tend to strongly disagree with the state's contention that he's a threat to the community. Again, he is presumed innocent. This is not a random person. And furthermore, he doesn't, we're unopposed to any no contact orders, Your Honor. So I'm requesting a signature bond on Mr. Mallory's behalf. And if Your Honor determines that he is ineligible, then the lowest bond possible. Thank you.
Does he have a place to live, Ms. Camp?
No, Your Honor, and we are connecting with social services to identify housing resources or give information on housing resources.
Okay. I'm gonna make that a part of the bond. So if he doesn't get out by the SAP calendar on the 15th, I will revisit it. It's gonna be a $500 good bond. Stay away from the Metropolitan Parkway address, no further contact with Ms. Farouk, social worker visit, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Up to Mr. Mallory.
All right, that's it, you're done. All right, Judge, we're completed here in courtroom 2.
All right, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Be safe. Okay, Ms. Bridgewater, when you're ready.
I am ready. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is November the 15th. Position number 1 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position number 2 is reset further notice as they were released. Position number 3 is reset to the SAP calendar with a $5,000 total good bond. Position 4 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. Position 5, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 6 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 total good bond. Position 7, SAP calendar with a $500 good bond. Position 8, SAP calendar with a $2,000 total good bond. Position 9 is going to the competency calendar on November the 3rd with a $2,000 total good bond. Position 10, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through the jail. Position 11, $4,000 SOB through pretrial, reset further notice. Position 12, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 13, goodness, I'll tell you, wait a minute. It's gonna be, wait.
$1,500.
$1,500 SOB through pretrial, reset further notice. Position 14, reset further notice with a $4,000 SOB through pretrial. And position 15 is being reset further notice with a $3,000 total SOB through pretrial. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise? No? Great.
Okay, if not, you all have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
I'll wait for those orders, Ms. Bridgewater.